Hello, I'm Jesse with Living Tree Community Foods, and we're here just a few miles north of Berkeley in the Richmond shipyard. And this was at one time a mud flat and a gigantic marsh, and then in the twinkling of an eye, it became transformed into a place that was of strategic importance during the Second World War. We're just a few miles north of Berkeley. It was here that Henry Kaiser, a titan of industry, created a shipyard that played a most important role in the Second World War. It was one of the key shipyards in the war effort. This is where the Liberty ships were built, and we're on a Liberty ship right now. This is called the Red Oak Victory. And initially, they set themselves a goal of creating 5 million tons of shipping in 1942 and 7 million in 1943. After Pearl Harbor, the goalpost moved. There was now to be 8 million tons in 42 and 10 million in 43. The shipyards ran 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It was incredible, dangerous work. There were electric wires everywhere, high voltage electric wires. There were rivets flying to the air, red hot. There were 250 pound per square inch metal presses in which to flatten a weary hand or finger, plus the hazards every welder faces of searing burns that leaves arms and legs covered with scars. Then there was the noise. It seemed to swell and engulf you like a tremendous ocean wave. And all of this, the shattering, thundering din, for $60 an hour pay. In the summer of 1941, there were only 4,000 people working here. But by the end of 1942, some 80,000 men and women, and by a year later, 100,000 people were working here. It was 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, 3 shifts, non-stop. And it was here that they revolutionized the way that ships were built. Traditionally, when a ship's hull is nearing completion, the deck houses are being added. Swarms of welders, electricians, cutters, pipe fitters, burners, and joiners move in and out and around to do their job, and they also get in the way of one another. This meant the process of building a ship actually slowed down the closer it got to completion. There had to be a better way. Why not make the ship's assembly line from prefabricated sections? Build the deck houses off-site and then install them complete into the hull. Instead of putting together the ship itself, they pre-assembled the separate sections so that they could be snapped together in sequence, very much like the process of assembling an automobile. It worked. The time it took a Liberty ship plummeted, while the man hours required fell by almost half. The work on the first ship began here in May 1941 and was delivered on New Year's Eve, a total of 253 days. By the 10th ship, they got this down to 154 days, and then they went on to reduce this to 80 days. Out of a desolate marshland they had built in little more than a year and a half, one of the country's most dynamic and innovative industrial centers. And then, at the very close of the war, the Kaiser shipyard launched a Liberty ship in the astonishing time of 4 days, 15 and a half hours. That's right, a 10,000 ton ship in a little more than 4 days. Moreover, in 1 month, May 1942, the Richmond shipyards produced no fewer than 18 Liberty ships, an average of one of these ships every other day slid off the assembly line. So that's how assembly line production came to American shipyards. Besides telling about unstoppable American productivity, there's a deeper message here. Namely, that we have reached the point, brothers and sisters, where we can do, where anything you can imagine, you can do. There is nothing that you cannot accomplish. Just now the stock market is plunging. It's only a matter of time before this affects the larger economy. But you will pull through. How do I know? The chuckling of chickens tells me so as I walk the streets of Berkeley in early morning. The edible schoolyard at Martin Luther King High School in Berkeley tells me so. The community gardens flourishing everywhere speak of your resilience. The buzzing of bees, the chuckling of chickens. Yes, you have a intimation that things are going to become a lot tougher, and therefore you've started out to take measures, beginning with growing your own food. But that's just the beginning. Now the soul shudders at the names Detroit, Camden, New Jersey, and Pittsburgh. These are examples of industrial towns that have become urban slums. But at a word from you, they can become gardens of the human spirit. Edible landscapes, backyard and community gardens, these are ideas whose time has come. The problems, of course, go much deeper. Saddest of all is the decline of the family. Nearly half, 48% of American children are born to a mother who is not married. 43% of American children live without a father in the home. Americans are having so few children that the fertility rate fell to a record 62.9 births per 1,000 women in 2013, and in an increasing number of states, there are now more deaths than births. Furthermore, it seems to me we have become a nation of strangers. Heavily armored, rigidly defended, remote, overwhelmed with things and objects, and at the same time deeply impoverished in spirit. And yet, you can restore, recreate, and regenerate. How do I know this? Because Abraham Lincoln said so. He enunciated in his second inaugural address, did he not say, "Is there any better or equal hope in the world than you, brothers and sisters?" This Liberty ship tells me so. A 10,000 ton ship created in 4 days. There is nothing you cannot accomplish. Our task is no longer merely restoration and repair. It is regeneration. This is your job, fellow Americans. Go forth, O shipbuilders, go forth.